Okay, so today's video is on small eyes. Now, when I say small eyes, I'm not, who is texting me? Just stop it. So, when I say a small eye, I'm not talking, the actual smallness here. I'm talking the space between the lid and the brow. I'm a good example of this. There is very little space between my lid and my brow. Now, the reason this is a tricky eye shape to deal with, or tricky problem, is because in order for our eyeshadow to be visible, it basically needs to be touching the brow. And that's why when we follow along with YouTube videos and we're trying to do their looks, it suddenly looks incredibly dramatic, even if that was not our goal. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to bring the eyeshadow up, but without making it too dramatic. You absolutely can, but I'm just going to show you why you do need to take it up to this point in order for it to be visible and why it's a good thing. So let's make a start. I'm going to be using my Pearl palette because it is divine, and let's just start. Let's just bloody well start. Perhaps my phone should be put on silent. There we go. Okay, so you're going to need a tissue. Now I use one of these, but this is really just a tissue. So this was from Alexis Vogel, but it works exactly the same as a tissue. You don't need one because they all do the same thing. And all you're going to do is place it at the outside corner where the tail of the brow is and to the lower lash line. I'm not going to connect underneath, so I'm bringing it up to the lower lash line, okay? So first things first, there's a little bit of powder on my lid, and that's it. We're not going to prime it. We're not going to piss around with anything today. It's just about eyes. So I want to take a nice medium tone shade, a mid-tone shade. I'm going to take the pinky one, and I want to just run this as my transition shade. Now, because of that issue I've spoken to you about with the lack of space, as you take this across, you're realizing that you end up with very little brow bone space as well. Don't be alarmed. It's absolutely fine. You're still going to look absolutely gorgeous. Promise. So take your stencil and run it to the lower lash line. With your eye looking straight forward and open, start the color at this upper part of the eye and bring it all the way across in pretty much a straight line. And now you can start to fill in this outside corner that you've just done. So you're going in a very, very straight line. Well, as straight as you possibly can on a mobile lid. Fill in that outside corner and then just fill in the rest of the eyelid as best you can. Don't worry about bringing it in just yet. So all you need to do now is just take that away and you've got your line. Now with that same brush, but with all the product removed, now I just want you to just socket the rest of the eye. You're basically just pulling it forward a little bit more, just so that it doesn't stop in the middle. Just very lightly buff it in. But as you can see, it's pretty much touching my actual brow bone, and that's completely fine. So now what I want to do is just add a little bit of depth to the outside corner and define this section, because when your eye is open and you walk around with your eye open, you do want to be able to see the shadow. So I'm going to use a slightly deeper shade from my same palette, and this time we're going to use that stencil. I'm just going to lay it on the outside corner again, but this time we're just going to shade this outside corner only. And don't worry about bringing it out, you're going to blend it anyway, but really concentrate on hitting this outside corner. But you also have to hit it high enough that you can actually see it when the eye is open. Otherwise it will nest right in here and you just won't see it. And chances are you want it to be visible. And now, as you can see, it is just poking through here and it's visible. So let's also deal with the fact that we've got, and this is a matte look and that's perfectly fine. But if we want to add a little bit of shimmer, what we want to do is add it right here, just above this transition shade, and only a tiny bit, and blend it in, and really just blend it in. We also get to deal with this issue we've got with our eyelid. Do we want it shimmery? Do we want it matte? Well, I want both. I want it to be a little bit shimmery right on this inner corner. So right here. But I also want to make sure that it transitions, so I'm going to take that brush and just lightly buff in the edge where that highlight shade meets. And I'm going to take the slightly darker color and just very lightly buff that as well, so that it's not too stark. Because I really think that the inner highlight area and just creeping onto the actual lid itself is very pretty. You could also, if you wanted, just bring this all over the eyelid as well. That would look absolutely splendid. I'm just going to take a touch more of this slightly darker shade, and I just want to just very lightly run this a little bit more just over the eyelid, just a fraction. And you can see, so I've used slightly deeper colors just to show it on camera. But when the eye is open, you can see the shadow above the eyelid. And you have to do that with small eyes. Otherwise, you're not going to have any space. Unless, of course, you've got a lot of lid space, then you don't need to bring it up at all. But once I put lashes on here, this will look super pretty. The only thing I'm going to do now is just clean off my brush, and I'm just going to buff this bit in. I just want this section here on my face shape and my eye shape to blend in to the bridge of the nose and blend up into the brow. You don't have to do this if your eyes are quite close together. It may not be a good idea. And I'm just going to take that shield again and just lay it on this outside corner. And now I'm just going to buff the outside shade just lightly into that highlight shade, because I don't want it to be too overpowering at all. So let's put some lashes on and see where we are. Okay, so I've got some lashes on here, and you can see that when I look straight forward, you can see this poking through here. And yes, I've used slightly deeper colors, but you could use anything that's very, very subtle if you wanted. Now, before we end this, I also thought it would be nice, rather than making it into a separate video, which is a possibility, is to just show you how to transition from this into something brighter and still have it look brighter, but without it coming right the way up here. So I'm going to take a really pretty purple color, and I'm going to use the exact same technique right here, and again I'm putting it on the outside corner. Then I'm going to open my eye, and I want to make sure that I at least see it popping through here. Great. Really working it on that outside corner, so that's the darkest, and then taking that bigger brush we used and just blending it. Blend it in and blend it out, and then just take it and just run it gently across the lash line, and then just blend that as well. And then knock off any excess and just very lightly just buff across. And that just shows us that we can go from that neutral brown into this purple. It becomes a much more dramatic look. But we haven't actually really touched this section here, but you're still able to see that color. And if you want to connect underneath, and you absolutely can, you've got the space here to connect it. I'll do that actually just for fun. And you just want to go right the way on the lower lash line. Let me bring my mirror in. Right on the lower lash line, right here please. And just connect the outside corner up. And then just run it gently along the lashes. I need to just blend this outside corner again. But just connect and then gently run it right the way to the inside corner. Always have a spare sponge on hand, because I'm going to use that in a second. And you see how by connecting underneath, you're seeing the color that you used on the outside corner, and it takes it up to a much more dramatic look. Now just get your little sponge if you want to soften things, and I'm just going to very lightly just buff this inner corner up and out slightly and just tap it in. I just want to just diffuse that outside corner, and there you go. So again, the tricks here, or trick, regardless of the intensity, is making sure that when the eye is open, you can see at least the beginning portion at the highest point of the eye, or where there is the least amount of space, which tends to be the center of the eye. Make sure you can see at least a little bit of it, bring it out and down, and then connect under if you want a more dramatic look. There you go. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.